Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael D. Wimberly, and I am basically a motivator. In our lives, we go through different journeys, and through those journeys, we have many obstacles. And what I'm going to do is take you on a journey with me and talk about the different obstacles that I ran into, and this is a physical journey that I ran into and overcoming those journeys. So, for my job, I travel quite a bit. So sometimes I drive, sometimes I fly. For this instance, I was actually flying. So I know that for me to get from my house to the airport is about 40 minutes. And then I like to get to the airport about an hour before my flight leaves. So for this 3 o'clock flight, I need to leave home at about 1:20. Not a problem. So I'm at home and I'm packing, and I get finished packing at about 1 o'clock, but I still don't leave the house until about 1:30. I'll tell you why later. All right, so I'm already putting myself 10 minutes behind, so now I'm 50 minutes before my flight leaves. Okay, not a problem, that's still plenty of time, so I take off to the airport. So now I'm going to the airport, and as I'm driving on the expressway, I see a bunch of brake lights come up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot that this weekend they're doing construction on this highway. 3-lane highway is going down to 1. Oh God, how long is this gonna take? All right, so luckily it wasn't that bad. It only took an additional 15 minutes. But now I'm 35 minutes before my flight leaves. All right, I'm heading to the airport, going a little bit over the speed limit, but that's okay, nobody caught me. So I'm going, and I'm deciding to park in short-term parking. Short-term parking is right next to the terminal, so I can get in and get to the terminal pretty quickly. Not a problem. I get there. The problem is, as I'm in the parking lot, there's no parking spaces. So I'm going up the whole parking garage, coming back down, and on my way back down, I finally see somebody going to their car. So I go and I follow them to their car. Now, as a side note, is it just me? Or when you start following somebody, do they seem to go a little bit slower knowing that you're following them? Okay, it wasn't just me. All right, because that's what it seemed like. They just really started to walk a little bit slower. So they finally got there, but unfortunately, it took 10 minutes for me to actually park. So now I'm 25 minutes before my flight leaves. Now, I haven't faced my worst obstacle yet. Anybody that's traveled knows the X factor of your trip is security. Haven't gotten there yet. Okay, I'm going into the airport, and I look at security, and it's not bad. So I'm like, okay, I can get through it pretty quickly. So 25 minutes, it took me 12 minutes to get through security. On a normal day, man, that is great. Today, not so good, because now I have 13 minutes before my flight leaves. Now, if you're listening to my terminology, I'm telling you when my flight leaves. It boards and closes the gate 10 minutes before the flight leaves. So literally, from security, I have 3 minutes to make it to my flight. Okay, let's see what happens. I take off. And of course, I get down there, the tram is not there, so of course, I now have to run. So I have to go to the terminal that I need to get to, and it takes me, not a bad time, I was actually impressed. It took me 8 minutes, but I got there, and guess what? Too late. They had already closed the door. Now this this gate was actually in a little cul-de-sac type area, no other gates in that area. I get there, and there's literally nobody there. So I'm like, oh, I just missed my flight. So now I'm thinking to myself, what? All these things that happened to me. The train not being there, me and having to maneuver through people walking slow on a moving sidewalk, security taking too long, not having a parking space for me right up front when I get to the airport. Didn't they know I was coming? The construction on the highway. All these things contributed to me basically missing my flight. How many of us have best laid plans and they just don't go the way we expect them to go? Happens all the time. Yeah, that was me. So with my best laid plans, once again, just didn't work out for me. Now, the main factor for me was all these things happened, but that wasn't the root of why I missed my flight. I told you I left the house 10 minutes late. Now, if nothing else changes on my trip to the airport and I leave on time, guess what? I make my flight. That 10 minutes made a difference between that gate being closed and me missing my flight. Now, how many of us have ever had best laid plans, and whether we want to admit it or not, we've been the reason that they didn't go the way they wanted to go? If you don't want to raise your hand, that's just nod at me or something. We all know. Now, that 10 minutes made a big difference for me. That 10 minutes is basically why I missed my flight. But did I blame myself? No. Why would I do something like that? Why would I blame myself for something that I did? But why don't we blame ourselves? Why don't we put the blame where it goes? Well, one of the reasons is we don't want to believe that we're the ones that are stopping us from reaching our goals. In summary, we don't want to believe that we're the ones holding ourselves back. But we are sometimes. Like me getting to the airport. The time that I needed to get to the airport didn't change. But I gave myself less time to accomplish that goal. Because of that, I now miss my flight. We stress ourselves out by doing stuff like that. Now, what I want to talk to you about or come off of this is because of this story, and obviously because you guys have agreed with me, other stories that we could all share where we've done things that we shouldn't have done, I've got 3 things we need to look at in order for us to go in and resolve these. The first one is I call self-inflicted wounds. The self-inflicted wound was simply me leaving my house 10 minutes late. Now, what I didn't tell you is why I left my house 10 minutes late. The reason I left my house 10 minutes late was because I was packing. But while I was packing, I had the TV on. This is Sunday. Everything up to 1 o'clock is pregame football shows. What happens at 1 o'clock? Football comes on. I told myself, I'll be fine. I'll watch a few plays and I'll head to the airport. 1:30, there's my self-inflicted wound. So we have to stick to our plan and avoid those self-inflicted wounds. Make sure we stay where we're supposed to go. The second thing is don't let the obstacles that you run into stop you. Those obstacles I ran into on my way to the airport, I was going to hit no matter what time I left the house. They only became critical because of the time I left the house. So we have to make sure that when we run into obstacles, we don't stop. They're there to discourage us or simply make us think that we can't do what it is we're trying to do. So we have to overcome those. And as we're pressing forward, even with me on my trip, as I started getting closer and closer to the airport, I knew that me making my flight was getting slimmer and slimmer. But I didn't stop. I kept going, which brings me to my third point. Follow through. Go all the way until there's nothing else you can do. When I got through security, I knew I had 3 minutes to make my flight. I was pretty sure I wasn't going to make it. But that didn't stop me. I took off just in case there was something that would happen that would allow me to make my flight. You never know. There's a saying that says, don't stop when you're tired, stop when you're finished. I didn't finish until I got to my gate, so I followed all the way through. That's all I could do. But let me finish my story. So I'm at my gate, and I'm walking around. I actually started to blame myself, like, God, 10 minutes would have made a big difference. And I'm sitting there, and I'm just mad when I had a quarter of my eye. There's a door. There's a ticket agent that comes through that door that has something that needs to go on my flight. She sees me and says, hey, are you supposed to be on this flight? I say, yes. She says, come on. And I say, okay. So she takes my ticket, she scans it, I get on my flight, I sit down, and I say, thank you, Lord. Because that was the only way I was going to make it, which is my bonus fourth point. Say it with me, church folk. It ain't over until God says it's over. So, taken away from this, there's 3 points and a bonus point I want you to take. Once again, self-inflicted wounds. Avoid them. We know stuff that we do. Turn the TV off. Get off of social media. All those things. We know those things that distract us from doing the things that we're supposed to do. Stop doing that. Second one, don't let the obstacles we run into, don't let them stop you. They're going to distract you. They're going to discourage you. But you have a goal in mind. Don't stop when you're tired because those obstacles are going to make you tired. Stop when you're finished. And when there's nothing else, follow all the way through. Make sure that no matter how tired you get, you go to the very end and do everything you can possibly do, which now brings me to my third point, is when there's nothing else you can do, God can still do more. If you want to reach out to me and you want to go through a journey with me, or you want to help me get through your journey so we can overcome all these obstacles, you can reach me on my website, wordsbywimberly.com. There you'll find links to all my social media, or you can just email directly at michael@wordsbywimberly.com. I pray that something I said has blessed you. Let's keep pressing. Let's not let anything stop us. Let's keep moving forward. Thank you.